And heading into game number 2, we'll see if there could be even more momentum from the first game coming out of Lion Guard. That's a huge bounce back to be able to just be, kill less and then go from being 0 to 6 rather, to go from 8 to 8 was a huge turnaround. Once FrostiaK felt comfortable with his itemization choices, he started looking for the plays. Frezzyy yet again complimented him really nicely, and despite the early pressure that MikeTheMagikarp had in that game, he just couldn't really match FrostiaK with the mobility off of the Susano passive.
Zeus and Izanami going to be banned out. Thoth and Ratatasker banned out as well by Sanguine. It's interesting. You never thought you'd hear that you can out-rotate the Ratatasker.
Well, not during his ultimate.
Sure.
But mobility, you get 4% extra movement speed after every single ability from Susano is on cooldown. So essentially, you could get technically 16% extra movement speed if you're on cooldown. And Ratatasker cannot keep up with that. Even with the Acorn having 2% extra movement speed more than Boots.
Hercules will be the selection here, coming out from LGE. This is, well, we saw Frezzyy on it last time around. You think we're going to see it one more time in the support role?
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, for it to be Frezzyy kind of god. He's been playing a lot of Sylvanus recently in the past, and it hasn't really been working out for him. He's always been getting caught out of position. Hercules, between Hercules and Sylvanus gives you that heal over time. Granted, it also gives your teammates that heal over time, but Hercules has more of that burst heal to be able to keep him alive a little bit longer. So we could see at least a strategy where if Frezzy's going to die, at least he's going to take you with him with that boulder.
Here's one of the problems I see. Sanguine select the Poseidon and the Susano across the way. Hercules is going to have trouble against these characters.
The cripple from Poseidon is going to be really obnoxious, which is why we see the Sylvanus now this time around. Hercules obviously not going to be very fruitful compared to the first game for Frezzyy.
Yeah, I think the Hercules was chosen for Frezzyy initially, and then once the Poseidon was locked in, we see the Sylvanus. That Hercules will either wind up in the jungle or the solo lane. Fafnir will be the supportive choice for Sanguine, an interesting character that hasn't gone completely away, but certainly not as prevalent as he used to be.
Still has a lot of impact in team fights, and I love it, the idea of having Fafnir here. Despite not having your Hunter, having Poseidon being buffed out by Fafnir is going to also help out that steroid with the Trident.
Yeah, certainly should act well with that, knowing Sanguine and how they use their mid lane. Mr. Stefan should look rather good. Medusa there is a character that has certainly been a little bit more exciting in this patch. Talk to me about why Medusa is more prevalent now.
With the addition of the penetration to Fatalis and Medusa's passive combined with that, having 0% movement penalty moving sideways and 50% movement penalty going backwards, the Fatalis becomes that much more useful on such a Hunter. So that's why we're also going to see Lion Guard go for a different kind of strategy, putting Neith in that Hunter position, which is not more of your boxer, but more of like farm, relax, look for your ultimates in the solo or the mid lane around the jungle. And that's not a bad idea if you're looking at Lion Guard's composition. FrostiaK with the Hunbats, a god he's very comfortable with, is going to be looking for a lot of plays.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. FrostiaK on one of his signature gods, the Hunbats. Lion Guard Esports, they're up game 1. Let's head into game 2.
Let's see if we're going to see any shenanigans coming out of Lion Guard again this time around. They almost found a kill onto DeathPanter the first time. Frezzyy mistimed, I would say, his Relic Sunder, not able to really use it in the beginning, having that 15% damage amplification. Instead, using it at the very end. Almost found the kill onto DeathPanter, but instead, looking like a very passive start out of both teams, just walking down the mid lane.
Yeah, sometimes last week we were seeing these proxy farm clears behind enemy towers. We were seeing invades. This time around, very simple play coming out from everybody, honestly.
It's really risky to do that kind of a proxy start against gods that can root you into place. Frezzyy and FleuryQ will be able to root you into place, and a level 1 CC root is going to last longer than most stuns in Smite, so therefore there's going to be a lot of opportunity to get confirmed damage after the fact.
ShadowNightmare here on this Vulcan. Interesting look in the mid lane. I wouldn't say, Vulcan it's not a character that I've never seen ShadowNightmare on, but I don't always associate ShadowNightmare with the Vulcan.
Not at all. And I like what Mr. Stefan was doing. Basically building his passive off of that turret from Vulcan, as well as knocking it down. You can position yourself at max range to hit the turret without actually getting hit by it.
So here's the question, is that Vulcan is such a volatile matchup. He is very bad against characters with chain attacks like Nanja and Zeus, and he excels against other characters. So when it comes down to Mr. Stefan, obviously the cripple is going to stop the backfire, but how does the rest of the kit match up?
in this position against this matchup, what you're really looking to do is you just dive Mr. Stefan. That's exactly what FrostiaK likes to do. It's not even about the 1v1 necessarily, the cripple versus the backfire. That's all fine and dandy. If you're going to get crippled, obviously the only defense you have as ShadowNightmare in the 1v1 is to miraculously find a perfectly timed meatball to disrupt the Whirlpool Kraken combination.
On the right side, Ducky gonna get in some trouble. MikeTheMagikarp looking for a level 2 gank, finds the nothing.
Normally, you don't want to pull a Susano towards yourself, especially after you just use all your abilities. Now gonna still take a lot of damage. Ducky was considering stopping Dodo there, using the driving strike to stop the tremors, but having a whole wave to worry about, and then the jungler as well, electing to lose a lot of gold into the tower instead of his life.
So the reason we see Ducky pull the Susano, I think, totally, is because he didn't want to get pulled himself into the wave of minions. By pulling the Susano towards him, Susano can't pull him into any more danger than he already is in. So wanted to avoid the extra damage from those minions is what I would venture a guess for.
But after landing back from that Hercules pull, that actually puts Susano closer. But Ducky now using his driving strike, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. MikeTheMagikarp going to pull him back into danger, finding the stun, the jet stream as well. But the heal is going to keep him up. The Sunder even being used by Ducky. The pull, he finds one in here. He's not going to find the second one, but the rotation from FrostiaK and ShadowNightmare finding the first blood onto Dodo.
Well fought. That gank lasted far too long. Overstaying your welcome is a term you hear a lot about in Smite, and that right there is exactly what happened. DeathDodo and MikeTheMagikarp go for the gank. It doesn't work out. Leave. Don't hang out. Wait for dessert.
And this is basically the demonstration of the difference between old Hercules versus new Hercules. It's a level 4 Hercules that doesn't have physical defense, but because the way Mitigate Wounds now works compared to the previous Season 3, you get a burst heal as opposed to a huge heal over time. So all that damage that was being dealt by MikeTheMagikarp and Dodo was basically negated.
FleuryQ and Frezzyy getting excited on the left side of the map. They'll both go their separate ways. FleuryQ meeting up back up with Nika here on the Medusa. Another high-impact hunter here on the Medusa. Certainly more of a mid-game oriented character than late-game on the Apollo.
Both hunters going for Transcendence, with the exception of FleuryQ squeezing in a Bluestone Pendant into his build, trying to get off a little bit more lane pressure with this choice. Oh, a nice little pull onto MikeTheMagikarp, but the Fear No Evil doing a great job, making sure that Frezzyy is still going to stay alive. Mr. Stefan holding onto his ultimate. Unless he got disrupted by that Fear No Evil, he couldn't really land it onto Frezzyy.
Sanguine now on the back foot. Lion Guard looking for the invade, but speed buff already down. Sorry, FrostiaK.
This is all about the timing of Season 4. You don't really know when the speed buff has been taken on the offensive side of things. Mr. Stefan having to retreat a little bit, getting rooted into place. The ultimate coming from ShadowNightmare, gonna find the Poseidon. And Dodo's gonna fall in a 1v. No, it was a gank from FrostiaK in the soul lane.
Fantastic play across the board coming out from Lion Guard. That was not by accident or coincidence that those two situations happened at the same time. The gank comes out at the same time as the invade comes out, so there's no way that Sanguine can efficiently be spread out.
And what's really scary about this for Sanguine is the fact that FleuryQ didn't even have to use his ultimate for either kill onto Mr. Stefan or onto TheDarkDodo, and that's a Neith that has a red buff at level 7. It's a decent amount of damage, even at level 1 here. It's good enough to be able to continue the pressure onto the soul lane. Now looking for the Gold Fury, almost at the 5-minute mark. Great continue use of pressure and advantage. The power play the Lion Guard has, securing this early game objective.
Fantastic play coming out of LGE. Almost 5 minutes on the board, or almost 5 minutes on the clock. 3 kills already, and 3,000 gold more importantly. Lion Guard leading by a ton, honestly. When it comes to this much gold this early, Toli, you're given a lot of the map presence as well. That Gold Fury going down rather easily.
This is looking really troublesome for Sanguine, because at this point, they were actually ahead a certain amount of gold, but now they're really struggling at this point. And this is not a position you want to be against Lion Guard. Looking at the players of Lion Guard between Ducky, FrostiaK, and ShadowNightmare, formerly onto Dignitas, I would say that they're a heavily momentum-driven, emotional-based team, and this is a high that they're riding off of. It could also have been because of their earlier comeback in game number 1 now.
I mean, these guys are definitely fiery. Frezzyy is a fiery individual, certainly. ShadowNightmare and FrostiaK, I think, similar type players as well. FrostiaK is a little bit more level-headed, believe it or not. I don't think his gameplay it's very interesting. FrostiaK, I like this guy a lot. His gameplay is very volatile. let's say. He's inconsistent. When he's good, he's great. When he's not so good, he's not so great. But his mentality and his thought process is very level-headed, honestly.
Ooh, finding another pull onto MikeTheMagikarp during the jet stream, taking a lot of poke, but getting caught off by the Fear No Evil. And just for good measure, the ultimate out of ShadowNightmare. Nowhere to go, MikeTheMagikarp.
That's the type of play that I'm talking about. Ducky on the heels of DarkDodo. Flip kick gone. Number 5 for Lion Guard.
And this time, FleuryQ's ultimate was on cooldown, assuming with the red buff and Transcendence Neith, that was definitely used for that kill, allowing that it was because of the assist there from FleuryQ. Great job making sure that his soul laner is still going to be able to ride off a lot of momentum. Already a 2-level lead.
Oh, Frezzyy gets hit by the Kraken. Nowhere for him to go. DeathPanter cleans it up. Nice kill by Mr. Stefan as Frezzy's just under the tower.
That's usually what you'll see him do, honestly. It doesn't matter what god he's going to play, whether it's the Fafnir,
I just don't
the
understand
Hercules,
what the thought was.
the Sylvanus. I think he was trying to zone for FrostiaK, but FrostiaK's left in a 1v3 position. This is the slight downfall of Lion Guard. They get a little bit of a lead, they get a little bit overconfident, and then they make silly positional errors such as this, trying to go too far past the tier 1 tower, going into a 1-on-3 where FrostiaK had no business in.
I mean, FrostiaK, he just very curious decisions coming out across the board from Lion Guard, and that has always sort of been the plague of this team, is that they play very well individually and even as a unit to a certain extent. I mean, look at the beginning of this game. 3,000 gold lead very early on. I mean, that's what you want, but here comes MikeTheMagikarp, misses the pull, finds the ultimate, however. FleuryQ uses Aegis, and it's not going to be enough. Gank from the jungler proves complete. Here comes the long-range shot. Nowhere to be seen.
But Frezzy's in position. He's going to try to find at least a root pull onto Nika. The dash is still on cooldown. Nice purification beats. Going to be able to prevent the knockup, buying enough time for the dash to come back up. This could also be a turnaround. DeathPanter right around the corner.
Oh, stun is going to hit ShadowNightmare. He's in trouble. Half HP meatball knocks back 2 players. DeathPanter still trying to find it. Walks forward, gets pulled again. ShadowNightmare from around the block. Gets hit by the Kraken. He's going to walk past everything and then finally get hit one more time by DeathPanter. Rotation out of Ducky and FrostiaK coming around the backside.
For the boulder.
MikeTheMagikarp is going to be out, but everybody else is in trouble.
Not going to be able to look for the boulder over the top. FrostiaK jumping into the purple buff. The rotation has been made as well from Dodo. Both soul laners making their presence known in this duo lane. Lion Guard able to just drop 3 deaths very uncharacteristically in a very short manner of time. Sanguine picking these up. They need to look for more plays though off of this. They can't just look for these kills and not get anything out of it. Now granted, they are down a little bit of experience in gold, so they can't really continue too deep into the jungle out of Lion Guard, but they're going to have to at least get more waves to deny onto Lion Guard, making sure that at least they're not farming efficiently either.
Good vision being dropped by Lion Guard. You can see clean up as Sanguine's ward gets toppled over there on the right side. 1 minute till the fire demon portal boss guy giant spawns. Portal demon, right?
Yes. I was thinking of like more nicknames, but I just wanted to see how long you would keep going with it, honestly, at this point.
The Portal Dujo Man Bro guy is going to be protecting over there. He'll be up in a little bit.
He's like a Bash brother. The Fire Giant and the Portal Demon, they're like Bash Bros.
You love this objective, totally. And I think last game, we really got to see it in its we got to see one of the quintessential or on-brand applications of it. The team from behind gets the deicide and is able to go ahead, clean up the Portal Demon, and then
ShadowNightmare taking a lot of damage. He's stuck into the Cabrakan ultimate. He's going to take a quick spill. He gets off his ultimate in time, so trading mid laner for mid laner. Mr. Stuff is going to fall FrostiaK with a nice Fear No Evil. MikeTheMagikarp forced the beats away, though.
I didn't expect that to happen so quickly, but the catch with DeathDodo was able to confirm that ultimate.
Great
Fantastic
play
stuff
out of Dodo. He's level 10. He's struggling a little bit off of his 3 deaths, obviously getting plagued by the rotations from FrostiaK and then later on the global ultimate from FleuryQ, but still in a good position to make a play happen. And this is also before he finishes off that Breastplate of Valor, still doing a great job making an impact for his team.
That's one of the nice things about, honestly, Cabrakan is not the first character I think of when I think of characters being able to play from behind. Far from it, actually, but at least the ultimate allows that has that availability of the fact that if you are, you know, level 5 or level 20, you're still going to be able to lock somebody in. They're still going to get controlled, so.
And this is the mindset of a mid laner coming out from Dodo. He was formerly the mid laner from Sanguine, now going into the solo lane. He chose the Cabrakan on purpose to be able to lock down the Vulcan in the mid to lake. And once he dives that backline, if he can find ShadowNightmare in that ultimate, the walls, then he's going to be able to allow the rest of his team to really follow up. Obviously, Stefan wants to find the Whirlpool Kraken. MikeTheMagikarp wants to find the Typhoon.
Sanguine here looking on as Lion Guard start up the Gold Fury.
Little bit of a bait.
Leashed easily.
Frezzyy just going to sustain himself up while Ducky is going to bait in the backline. The ultimate coming out of ShadowNightmare. Frezzyy knocking up to Dodo using his ultimate. The boulder coming out, but in the backline, FrostiaK. He gets stunned out with a triple Medusa ultimate.
DeathDodo very low. Neith charging it. Nika with a beautiful body block. Ducky in the middle line, going to get in trouble. He's got a dot on him. One more shot will do it, but he's safe right now. FrostiaK on the other hand looking for the tear. Gets one, and the other player, Frezzyy, gets credit for off of the damage of FrostiaK in the jungle. 2-1-4. FrostiaK, this is one of his great games.
Too early of an ultimate from Mr. Stefan. It didn't coordinate with the ultimate. The triple stun coming out of Nika. Not on the mark is Ducky, but still trying to contest the objective without a Kraken is Mr. Stefan. He's going to take a spill. Nowhere to go for him, and that's going to be 3 free kills and a Gold Fury for Lion Guard at the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, at that point, I think you got to let it go. I don't think you can really try to defend that one.
No, not at all. Unless you have complete vision, you know the fact the Lion Guard is all in that little area, and then you have enough time to wrap around those left side mid harpies, go underneath, and then look for the Whirlpool Tidal Surge combination. But with all those kills, it's going to buy enough time for Lion Guard to get another objective on the Portal Demon.
Yeah, Portal Demon Fire Giant Guy Boss Man goes down. Lion Guard pick it up. 35,000 gold to Sanguine's 28K. That's a rather large lead here, just 1, 2, 3, 4 into the game. 9-5 as well. Lion Guard just going to work here. Again, Sanguine absolutely controlled. It took a moment for Lion Guard to get their footing in game number 1. Sanguine had an early lead, they had to fall back, they had to come back, they had to fix things up. Here in game number 2, they just said, hey, remember how we won? Let's keep doing that.
Well, their composition is definitely superior, I would say, in these mid to late game team fights. They have not only the sustain from Frezzyy for AoE sustain, they have self-sustain onto FleuryQ, Ducky as well with his mitigate wounds. And there's no defensive mindset that Sanguine had. They had Kepri earlier on, but now they have Fafnir, which is too offensive-minded. This is not really Sanguine's style to be running a Fafnir.
All right, I'll give you that much. I think a little bit of healing reduction would go a long way for Sanguine. If they just had a little bit, this is a mid-game composition. We're just not even there yet.
DeathPanter got knocked up into the backline. FrostiaK is trying to set up the ultimate from ShadowNightmare. He finds 3. Aegis out 1. The ultimate from Medusa buying a little bit of time. Ducky gonna stun out Dodo away from that tier 2 tower, but it's just buying time as the tier 1 mid will fall. FleuryQ making the rotation. He has the red buff, and this Neith with the Icavile Transcendence is gonna absolutely melt this tower with the minions here.
Yeah, the tier 2 already gonna be attacked 50% right now. No defense coming out from Sanguine. With Nika showing up, you might see a retreat, but the tower is already dead. 14 minutes for your tier 2. That a little early, Tully?
A little bit, I would say. Normal, especially compared to the last game. We haven't seen the tier 2 towers being taken up until the 20-minute mark. Sanguine was actually like relatively even after they started giving back the lead. Lion Guard eventually built a 10,000 goal lead around the 25, 26-minute mark once they start stripping this. But now they're almost at the same pace, only same amount of gold lead at 10 minutes earlier in the game.
Yeah, this is very scary for Sanguine. I mean, looking at where Lion Guard is right now, and the fact that they have a character like Vulcan and a character like Hercules who both scale very well into the late game, it gets things very scary.
Sanguine, they recognize they can't really defend the dual lane, instead electing to position themselves to split push on the solo side, but now they're going to back on off. They want to try to defend the Phoenix, but instead, Lion Guard, they should be able to recognize this and back off after the tier 2 tower gets taken.
No reason for this for the team to go ahead and stretch for the Phoenix. I think if one player dies here for this fight for the tier 2,
Vulcan!
It's okay. But the turnaround! ShadowNightmare picks up one with the long-range damage. Ducky gets another. FrostiaK gets the 3rd. Lion Guard with what looked to be a retreat. Sanguine forced their hand, made the fight happen. Lion Guard are going to take the Phoenix.
Yet again, FrostiaK and ShadowNightmare combining their ultimates beautifully. It was earlier ultimate from FrostiaK in the mid lane that forced a lot of purification beads, which is why the ultimate from ShadowNightmare this time around confirmed hit 2 members from Sanguine, getting off so much guaranteed damage with those purification beads being on cooldown.
Listen, So when you look at this team, FrostiaK and ShadowNightmare have been teaming together rather unsuccessfully since 2014. 2014 is when they really started going together, and now here in 2017, I started my conversation about Season 4 talking about how FrostiaK and ShadowNightmare, it hasn't worked for so long, maybe they should, you know, go in different directions like the guys from Titan did and like we've seen some other teams do. Looking at the way they're playing in this game, Anatoly, I'm ready to eat my words, but this is just a single game. I want to see the rest of the season work out like this, because from the outside looking in, you can say that there has been a lack of success for a number of years. Maybe you should change things. But if you're going to stick around, to be fair to the players, if you're going to stick around together for this long of a time, something internally has to be working. Maybe this is finally a glimpse into what they see during their scrims, their practice time, and we're actually getting to see it on the stage.
Well, they're able to do it against Sanguine. Let's see them do it against Energy, maybe against Obey, a lot of other members. MikeTheMagikarp in no man's land. Vulcan ultimate just for good measure. Finding the kill onto MikeTheMagikarp. Still ultimate from Mr. Stefan to be able to defend this, but with the left side Phoenix being down, somebody has to defend those fire minutes. Instead, electing to rotate, they're going to be a free fire giant for Lion Guard.
Yeah, this one goes down without any payment whatsoever. Ducky playing zone to nobody, and that's the greatest feeling in the world for a solo laner. You go, all right, guys, I'm going to go zone. You walk out. There's nothing for you to do. It's got to feel good.
Right-hand side now, continuing the pressure with their Fire Giant buff. Nobody really here to respond, instead electing to wait for the respawn from MikeTheMagikarp, as well as pushing out the Fire Wave on the left side by Mr. Stefan. That's well-timed as well, but he actually got canceled with the back, so not going to be able to defend this with 5-on-4.
Even still, he'll be able to get back to base. It was taking Lion Guard a little bit of time here on the right side. Trying to find their moment. FrostiaK does have the ultimate available, just needs to get in there.
FrostiaK got spotted by the ward. I like his positioning, being able to try to look for a play. He has the blink. He wants to dive the backline, but it's going to be Mike starting things off.
And Ducky gets the kill off of the ultimate out of the tree. There's going to be the rotation from FrostiaK. Big damage, and Mr. Stefan just gets obliterated. Nika's here trying to provide support for the jungler, but long range. DeathPanter gets hit, but he's the support. Just not enough. Different story for TheDarkDodo. He's going to fall down to the hand of ShadowNightmare, just like the right side Phoenix.
3 members dead from Sanguine, 5 members with Fire Giant on Lion Guard. They found the first game. They're going to go for game number 2. The boulder comes out. The damage is there. The Titan's going to fall, Tom. And that's going to be Sanguine losing both games against Lion Guard. Still without a win yet this whole split.
This one much quicker, though. 18-15 on the clock this time around. Very what looked to be an easy game coming out from Lion Guard. I didn't see much struggle for them there.
No, not at all. Lion Guard looked to play very solidly here. Much better performance than their first week against Elevate.
I would love to see that team all season long. Taco, you think it can last?
I think they can, F-Dot, after such a strong performance coming out of them today. Actually, it was pretty interesting, though, considering that game number 1, we saw Lion Guard actually with a slight backhand, considering that they were actually down at one point in time, 6 kills to nothing against Sanguine. But it just felt like Sanguine couldn't really capitalize off of their early lead. You can actually see that the goal lead was never really that substantial on the side of Sanguine Esports in that game number 1, because they, even after securing 6 kills, they were only ever up by 2 to 3K gold maximum. And that going into the 13-minute mark, if you're up by like 6-0, you should never really be finding yourselves unable to farm up a higher gold lead than the enemy opposition. And so I think overall, Lion Guard's composure in that very first game was excellent, and that they were able to go ahead and assure themselves to not fall super far behind drastic when it came to experience and goal lead, despite the fact that they were behind from the very start of the game. And actually, there was a massive turning point for Lion Guard in game number 1 on the back of ShadowNightmare. Here you can see he's landing that double Kraken, which was quite unexpected for the side of Sanguine, and they were able to secure 3 kills off of that, which overall led to them turning the tides entirely. And ShadowNightmare here again, just completely demolishing Mr. Stefan, punishing his out of position, crackening him every opportunity he got. And again, the multiple Krakens coming out on the side of ShadowNightmare were just so essential as far as Lion Guard's lead was able to be re-established, despite the fact that they were behind in that very first game. Overall, excellent gameplay coming out of ShadowNightmare. And then in game number 2, we saw the same dominant performance coming out of Lion Guard, and that it was actually a pretty substantial lead for them from the very beginning. on the side of Lion Guard. Sanguine never really stood a chance once Lion Guard got the ball rolling. They went ahead, they secured an early lead for themselves gold-wise and experience-wise, and they just continued that snowball all throughout the game. And this time around, though, we saw Ducky actually coming up big on this Hercules. And I really like how he opted to go ahead and take that Hercules into the soul lane. It was excellent punishment for the Cabrakan, able to stop his lane clear due to the fact that he has a knock-up and the driving strike. And Ducky was just so on point the entire time with these knock-ups into driving strikes. There was just no chance for DeathDodo to try and escape, especially without any mana. And again, here we see him going ahead, driving strike Mr. Stefan, making sure that he's CC'd out and can't get away from ShadowNightmare's ultimate. Here we saw him completely punishing DeathPanter for missing that stun on Fafnir, and just going ahead and completely decimating MikeTheMagikarp. It just didn't even seem like Lion Guard had any idea. It seemed like Lion Guard had no way at all to completely throw that game. Like, they were just so comfortable, so far ahead. And overall, excellent performance coming out of them for week number 2. That's a great way to start, picking up the clean set against Sanguine. And now